Okay, if we've made it to this point and you're watching this video, you've made it through Article 1 on the Dowel Hip Hinge. You probably just read Article 2 on the Hip Hinge, or you skipped Article 2 and you went straight to the video that shows all the cool stuff that we've used to replace the hip hinge. Now, I'm going to do my best. I hate the term hip hinge. I don't think it's correct. If you want to know why, you can read Article 1 and Article 2. I'm not going to get into that. So moving forward, I'm either going to call it the deadlift pattern or coordinated weight shift. So we told you we don't like this. Stick on the back, hips, shoulders, head making contact, and then pushing the hips back, letting the shoulders come forward. We said we don't like that. Lots of different reasons why. Again, you can read all those in the article. How we replace that? First, this is a drill that we don't really have that much of a replacement for, because how we teach the deadlift progression, we don't have to go back and do any of this stuff. But there is a regression that we do. If somebody is really struggling with this, and we absolutely have to put this in, there is a drill that we utilize that accomplishes the same thing as that old drill, but in a manner that actually capitalizes and benefits off of the principles and the postures and patterns within the neurodevelopmental continuum. I call it the wall hip hinge. No, it's not this, because we're doing the same thing, only we're not getting any feedback from it. That's not the drill. Jeff calls this version of the drill that we utilize vertical rocking. I've called it the wall push away. But in any instance, what we're doing is we're facing the wall. Hands are on the wall. We're pushing our hands up. Push our hands up into the wall to capitalize off of pushing down. Because when we talk about the deadlift strategy, what we're talking about is a coordinated weight shift. The hips have to go back, shoulders have to go forward. That combines to allow the center of mass to drop. From a developmental standpoint, when we're talking about the neurodevelopmental continuum, we're talking weight shifts. What the weight shift builds off of is pushing down. Well, I can't push down into my feet. It's not through the rooting stuff. You can read about why we don't think rooting has its place, but not right now. But you can read about that in Article 1. So I'm going to capitalize off of pushing down. How am I going to do that? I'm going to use this wall. Hands are about shoulder level. My eyes are going to stay between my thumbs. I'm pushing my hands up. Luckily, this brick isn't allowing me to do that. So I'm maintaining tension in my arms. And as I do that, I'm pushing my hips away from the wall till my elbows are straight. I want to walk back far enough that I'm about arm's length, just a little beyond, but I don't want to be so far away that I'm doing a funny wall push-up. So I'm just going to be here. I'm a little tension up towards the ceiling through my hands, pushing my hips back, keeping my eyes on that brick right in between my thumbs. The whole time, I'm maintaining that upward tension. So when I get here, it's not that there's no tension, I'm still pushing up. One of the goals of us using this drill is to get somebody to where they can deadlift. So what we're going to do with this, I'm going to use a kettlebell. I'm going to put the kettlebell between my feet. I'm going to push up into the wall, maintain that tension. And once I get here, I'm going to reach down and grab the kettlebell. Well, not far enough down where I can grab the kettlebell. So I'm going to put my hands a little bit lower on the wall, maintain that tension, walk myself down the wall until I get low enough to where I can grab the kettlebell, and then I can grab the kettlebell. The pushing down into the wall, when in fact the pushing down is actually pushing your hands up into the wall, that tension, that feedback from the arms, that's what gives us the stability to maintain that spinal tension, to maintain that tension through the spine so that the spine stays stable. Way better than trying to inauthentically keep the hips, shoulders, and head touching a dowel. But like I said, that's a drill we very rarely use. So rarely, we don't even have a unified name for it. What we do, though, when we teach this, we make sure that when we teach this in a manner that they can't do it wrong. And how we do that is from down on the floor. Now, Jeff and I debated whether or not to put this in this video. Originally, I didn't want to, but then he reminded me that this progression is in our second ebook, New Language of Movement Volume 2. The symmetrical strategies, deadlift and squat. So once you reminded me of that, I decided we had to do it. So we start our deadlift from here. What happens, again, deadlift being a coordinated weight shift, we're building off of the pushing down strategy. So we're going to push down out of quadruped, and we're going to have one weight shift. So we're dumbing this strategy down just a little bit to make it manageable. So the pushing down actually happens as I'm maintaining tension through my arms into the ground and lifting my knees up off the ground. So I've now pushed down into the ground. As soon as that happens, jelly belly goes away, things turn on, things are nice and stable. We stabilize the spine in a manner that's way better than trying to push your hip, shoulder, and head into a dowel. So I get my feet set up in my deadlift stance. If this is somebody you've never taught this to, you're gonna have to play around with this. But I'm gonna get my feet set because I know what my deadlift stance is. I'm gonna push down into the ground, and then I'm going to push back. Now I have one big weight shift posteriorly, and I'm gonna walk myself back until my heels hit the ground, keeping my hands on the ground. And I'm gonna bring my elbows here. Why? Because now I've made it very easy to get a flat back. If I have somebody's hands here and I'm trying to coach their back, you can try. It's a fruitless task. So let them rest their elbows on their knees. We can give them some good cueing, and then if I like it, great, we can progress. If I don't like it, we're going to go back down to the ground. And in fact, how we teach this, this is the drill for quite a while. Posterior weight shift of the hips and the shoulders, coming here into a nice stable spine. And then I'm just going to work on keeping my spine stable, keeping my hips moving with one weight shift, because now both my hips and my shoulders are moving backwards, until I've got it to where that spine stays nice and stable with this. Again, remember, we're doing this because ultimately I want to do a deadlift. So how do I do that? I take my kettlebell, I can use a sandbag, I can use a cat, I can use a small child, whatever, and I'm going to lift up and walk back, and then into my deadlift. So I can walk forward, I can maintain all of this, and it's the exact same drill as before, lifting the knees up, walking back, get into this position. I can even have them come to this position, elbows on the knees, before I have them grab the kettlebell. Because as soon as I go from here to here, that's a little less stable. And then if I don't like this position, we go back down to the ground. If I do like this position, and everything looks good, then we can stand up with our deadlift. If I want a little bit more of a bridge between the two, I can come here, elbows to my knees, nice flat back, nice stable spine, and I can stand up from here. Then I can go elbows back to my knees, hands to the ground, and forward. So that drill has made teaching the deadlift strategy, the coordinated weight shift strategy, tons easier than trying to put a dowel on somebody's back. I'm going to pause for a second because I have to make a quick equipment change. When I come back, I'm going to show you another way that we do this drill with even more feedback that is a little bit more loaded. So hang on just a second. All right, here I am back again. I had to make a quick equipment change. You notice I have this training rook on my back now. Talk with movement outlaws about being implement independent. The implements provide sensory feedback. The sensory feedback I'm getting from this 45-pound ruck on my back versus this 45-pound kettlebell isn't the same. 45 pounds is not created equally. So if we're talking about teaching this coordinated weight shift strategy, we can do the exact same progression. I come here. Now I have sensory feedback from this ruck into my back. So going turtle back, middle school boy back, rounded back, whatever you want to call it, I can do that. The pack makes it tougher to do. So we do the same drill. It's going to be a little bit tougher now. Knees up, walk back, get into this bottom of the deadlift position. I come here and stand up. Elbows back down to the ground, walk myself down, and we go from here. The exact same drill as before, hips up, Elbows to the knees, back's nice and flat, and I stand up. So same progression, same drill, tons of variation that you can use to be applicable to your situation with the equipment that you have. Like I said, I can do this with a kettlebell. I've done it with a ruck. I can even do this with a barbell. It takes a little bit more work to do with a barbell. I can do it with a sandbag. So hope you enjoyed. Remember, our goal wasn't to come out and bash an exercise that a lot of people like to do. Our goal was to come out, point out the flaws with this exercise that everybody's done, a lot of people have struggled with, and to point out a couple better ways to do it. If you've done the Dowel Hip Hinge and it worked out well for you, great. Hopefully this was another couple drills that you can implement and start using in your practice every day. If you tried the Dowel Hip Hinge before and it absolutely sucked for you, hopefully now one of these drills will give you the opportunity to actually take the intent of that drill and actually get some good results out of it. So give it a try. Let me know your thoughts. Hope you enjoyed.